Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us this week on The Triple Option, presented by Wendy's. Remember, rate, subscribe over at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Find us on social media at 3X Option Show. So this past year, college football expanded the playoff system to 12 teams. We spent a lot of weeks talking about it. You know why they did it? Because they want to be more like college basketball, the success that they've had with March Madness in the tournament. So with that in mind, let's bring in the winningest men's basketball coach in Big Ten history, your 2000 national champion, the unquestioned dean of college basketball coaching, Michigan State head coach Tom Izzo, as he gets ready for his 16th Sweet 16. That is amazing. Congrats on that, Coach, and thanks for joining us this week. We know you're a busy man.
Yeah,
Absolute
you guys are
legend.
Just making me sound older than I am. That's the problem. Those are not compliments. I don't take those as compliments.
Great
Hall of
compliments.
Famer. That's a compliment. National
Coach,
champion. We're full of compliments.
Coach, you're a great friend and one of my favorite people. You were so good to me during my career. I'd get some of the greatest freaking text messages from you after a great win. And sometime when we had that loss, you'd hit me up afterwards and then we'd run into each other. So you are, and Mark, I'm sure you know this, you know he's not a basketball coach. Deep down, you rip that heart open. That's a football dude right there, man.
Yes, sir.
I agree.
He loves him and Mark D'Antonio are great friends, probably still great friends. I know he supports. You love your school. You love supporting the football team. I always idolize that because I've always had that relationship with my I've had, how about this? I had Rick Majerus. I had Dan Dockich. I had Thad Matta. And then obviously Billy Donovan was my neighbor. And we were best friends. I mean, I was at all the games. They were at our games. Yep. So great to have you here. And tell us about your team and what makes this team potentially, you've had it once before, it's been a while. Yeah. What makes this team, is there a shot with this team?
You know, it's the strangest team I've had in this respect. It's not the most talented team. I'm not sure it's in the top 5 or 6 that I've had, or top 10 or 15 that I've had, but it's maybe the most connected. And as you know, especially this day and age, having connections with each other and kind of a real care for one another. We all talk about family atmosphere and all that stuff. It's getting harder to deal with now than it ever was. I mean, we've become like society, so self-centered, so about ourselves that it's hard to do that. For some reason, I don't know if it was the trip to Spain. I took my team back where Mariucci and I are from, northern Michigan. I've taken them to Lions games, Tiger games. I'm trying to do more and more with them to develop that. And it's worked so far. We kind of had role definition. We're playing 10 players. I guess that would be equivalent of playing like 8 receivers or, you know, even 2 quarterbacks. You know, it's not the norm, but it's worked because I think they've all come together so far.
Yeah. Now, Coach, you said like how you've been able to adapt. You said how this might be the most connected team you've ever had. With today's day and age, you haven't missed the NCAA tournament since 1996. Like over time, like how have you been able to adapt as a coach? What have you learned to help you kind of come to this method of being able to be a great coach and have a team that's competing in the Sweet 16?
Yeah, you know, I'm sure Urban has had to deal with this too. And the hardest part for me is staying in the same place. That's good, but it's hard because your fans, your media, you know, they all get sick of it. And, you know, they get sick of the same press conferences. But I think what I've tried to learn to do, I watched Bobby Knight when I first came in. I watched Gene Cady. You know, Bob struggled to adapt to the new times where Gene was still the gruff. They were both tough, gruff. Clem Haskins was in that. Those are the 3 I came in with. I was afraid to go to conference coaches meetings with those 3 guys. But I learned from all of them that you do got to make adjustments, but don't change the principles. I think after COVID, I think I failed a little bit in that. I think I adjusted so much that I forgot, and I used the terms, and they're the same for me. The end of the day, you know, you guys in football got the RPOs, you got this, you got that, you got changes, passing, running. Everybody wants to adapt, different defenses. At the end of the day, you got to be able to block and tackle and not turn the ball over. At the end of the day for us, we got to be able to defend and rebound and not turn the ball over. And I use every Super Bowl, and this one was a classic. You turn the ball over, you're probably not winning. And I mean at a high rate. And so that's why I love football. I just think it's easier to see those things. In basketball, there's so many possessions, it doesn't carry the same weight. But at the end of the day, I've adjusted without changing who I am and what I believe it takes, not to win games. That's a lot of people can do different things, but to win championships or compete at that level as Urban has done, there's still only one way, right, Coach? I mean, you got to be tough. You got to be demanding. You got to be accountable. That doesn't change.
Well, ironically, I had a player, Ryan Wingrove, from my first Bowling Green team, and I mean, those stories are legendary, and they're all true. I mean, it was back in the day. We had mat drills and combatives and all that, and he made a comment. He says, "Do you realize if they had transfer portal when you were coaching that all 85 would have left?" And I said, "Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the way you tried. It was Navy SEAL training. I wanted you to ring the bell, but it's the same." And he teared up as he left, and he says, "The greatest year I've ever had in my life, because we went from 1-10 to 9-3." And so my question to you, the word transfer, the phrase transfer portal, has that changed Tom Izzo on the court, in the meeting rooms? Because you're a tough ass dude now. Are you still that?
You know, it's funny because you were at Ohio State, and when I had my championship team in 2000, I had some tough kids. And I mean, Cleves and a kid, Andre
Flintstones,
rugged
yeah,
Flintstones.
But all those guys were tough. And we got beat at Ohio State in our rebounds. We were like one in the country. And I remember my kid, Andre Hudson, grabbed Zach Randolph, pinned him up against the wall and said, "We don't do that here. We don't lose. We lost the game by 1. We lost the rebound." So Saban was here then. So I came back and I called Nick. I said, "I need 12 sets of football gear, practicing tomorrow. Can I do that?" Yeah. He brought him over, put the guys in football gear for the war drill. And I remember Cleves trying to show a guy how to buckle a chin strap, a 6'10" guy, you know? And we went at it for like 20 minutes. And
what a story.
But I was mad, you know? I wanted it to be anger. They had so much fun. It was so that it pissed me off, to be honest with you. And yet, to this day, when they come back for reunions, "Coach, you bring out the pads this week?" I said, "No, a little different than what you're saying. I ain't worried about them transferring. I'm worried about their lawyers suing me. So I don't do that anymore. I've changed."
Oh, man, that's a great story there. Hey, man, I love that.
Hey, Coach, this time of year, you know, you've gone through the gauntlet of Big Ten conference play and the Big Ten tournament, and now you're in this NCAA tournament where you have new opposition, you have little time, and you have a team that has just played so many games. How do you manage your preparation? You know, is it more dealing with the opposition than dealing with yourself, or vice versa as you head into the Sweet 16?
Unfortunately, I'm one that deals with the opposition more, I guess. I'm a filmaholic. I've been brought up with all the football guys back in the day of Northern Michigan. And what it's done for me is it's taught me how to prep quicker and more efficient. They always said John Wooden worried more about his team, but his third string center was a draft pick, you know? So it's a little different talent level there. But, you know, what we've done here is it's not bad this week, but now you play Friday. If you win, you play Sunday afternoon. That quick turnaround, I kind of started my first year. We went to these 20, 25-minute segments because the attention span of these guys isn't great. So we'll go to breakfast, before breakfast, 20 minutes, eat breakfast, 20 minutes, lunch, 20 minutes, go to the shoot around, 20 minutes before, 20 minutes after. And it's really served me well. You know, when you're in a hotel, sometimes we have walkthroughs right in the hotel. And that's the way I've done it. And it's been pretty successful on second day play. You know, it's helped us a lot.
I got to hit you real quick about the football program. When I got into the Big Ten in 2001, Michigan State was a top team in the Big Ten. Mark D'Antonio and Narduzzi. I know you were real close to those guys. They were the best team in the Big Ten in 2001. And I'm sorry, in 2012.
12, yeah.
And they've fallen off the planet, man. And they were known to take that 3-star athlete and grind them into a first rounder. How far are they off?
Well, I think Jonathan's going to do a good job here, but you hit on something that I got to deal with every day too, because I've had my one and dones. I've had Randolph and Richardsons and Jaron Jacksons and Miles Bridges, but probably had more 3 or 4 and done guys, and where you develop them, they kind of know what it is like to play here. The Michigan State game means more, if you've been here a while. And in football, I think we had the changeover in coaches, and things didn't go well. And when you mess up in football, it is a little longer to get back in most cases because just the number of players. Now, the transfer portal might eliminate some of that, or ease some of that, but I still think it's harder to turn a football program around quickly than it is a basketball program.
Coach Izzo, man, I just got to tell you what an honor and a pleasure it is for your boy being a Sparty at heart. Go Green. My dad played at Michigan State. Mama went to Michigan State. Grandpa played at Michigan State. So I grew up Michigan State bed sheets. When I was getting recruited, you was one of the main reasons why I loved Michigan State. I would go to the basketball games. The student section would be talking about we want Ingram. So I just wanted to tell you I love you and I appreciate you for all you doing. What you.
But you didn't go there.
I did not.
He let
burying the lead.
Him. I know that, but I still loved him. I still pulled for him when he was down there. To be honest with you,
see, that's a real one right there. See, that's a real one. But hey, one of my things that I love the most is in 2000. You had Flintstones. You had my boy Mo Pete. You had Mateen Cleaves. You had Charlie Bell. When you get a Flintstone, when you get a brother from Flint, let these people know, because I tell them I'm from Flint, but they don't really know what that means. What you getting when you get a player from Flint, Michigan?
I'll tell you, back in those days, especially, and even before you were there, you got the toughest, baddest guys, Flint, Sagan. I mean, Draymond. I could tell you stories
Draymond Green,
yin-yang about
Jay
Draymond. Rich, and but you're right. Cleaves, was the leader of that. Antonio Smith, his 2 brothers played pro football. Everybody then played both sports, right?
Right. And
so we had tougher guys. Now we get this specialization, and you guys are lucky in football. We get the sissy guys sometimes. You get the tougher guys, But there was something about that, Mark. I still have a key to that city up there because when we won the championship, they had a parade here. The mayor of Flint had a parade up there. It was unbelievable, man. And that was a hell of a parade, by the way, up there.
Yes. I love that. That's great. Key to the city. Izzo with the key to Flint, Michigan, baby. Let's go.
Coach, we experienced the expansion of the college football playoffs this year, and it kind of keeps creeping closer and closer to what you deal with every year in the basketball format. Do you think college football should get bigger and better in the postseason tournament and get closer and closer to what basketball has right now?
The one thing you don't have that basketball has that I'm a small college guy, but usually if it's 4 or 12, you got the best 12 teams. We still have this Cinderella stuff. And Cinderella has landed on my shoe a couple times too, So when you go 2-15, it's hard because players don't respect the teams as much. Media doesn't respect them. But as coach knows, we respect everybody because those things happen. We were beaten by Middle Tennessee. We had a really good team, and I think 16. And everybody says, well, you overlooked them. We were the best defensive team in the country statistically. They shot 56% against us, 53 from the 3. It was one of those nights that the damn ball went in, and we got beat. And I thought that was a Final Four team. So I don't know if I don't think that can happen in football. It's just the bigger, stronger teams. I don't think you could let the smaller programs in, even though there's some good ones. When you were at Bowling Green, you were probably good. There's been some teams, Northern Illinois, there's been some good small college teams, but boy, I don't know if you could do that. And I don't know if you'd want to do that. First of all, you couldn't play as many games. It's taxing enough on these guys. And you start adding another game and then injuries and all the things go. And I don't think you could do that. What do you two guys think? You guys are in it.
I kind of agree with what you said. You start diluting the quality of teams. You keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and yet you do have a Cinderella. I guess that's one of the things that makes March Madness as a fan, as a coach, it drives you out of your damn mind because your players look at that Middle Tennessee State and you're like, wait a minute now. Yeah. Watch the tape.
Yeah.
They're good enough to beat you. So, yeah.
That is a problem. And I just think that, when you get the football too, when it was 4, there was always somebody left out, and it's 12. There's always somebody left out. Ours was 64. Now it's 68. There's still somebody left out. Just win more games and you won't be left out.
Well, Coach, thanks for your time, man. Love you. We're pulling for you as always.
Izzo, one more time.
You guys were great. Mark, we gotta get a couple more Flintstones on my team. You gotta call your people up there, tell them to produce some.
I know, man. Players. The city got to get back. The city's struggling right now, but we gonna make them. But hey, Coach, I got one more for you. One more. We've been peppering you. We do this on the show. We've been peppering you with questions. You can ask anyone on the show one question. Go.
What is it like to win the Heisman? I mean, I see it in the back. I see it. I mean, there are certain awards you get, and I know they're all team awards and that, but boy, when you get that, those Heisman commercials to me are the greatest, man. I tell my wife, record all those. I love them all. Just watch those damn things.
Yeah, man, Coach, it was a blessing, man. It was amazing. I never dreamed of that. I was just out there doing my job, playing to the best of my ability to help my team win games, and I just kept putting one good game together after another. I was on a good football team, and we kept winning games, and we were ranked high, and I kept having good performances against. I had a great performance against your boy right there, Coach Meyer. Went for about 200 scrimmage yards and 3 touchdowns in the SEC championship. And I went up there.
Those guys from Flint they keep bringing up stuff like that.
I know.
They don't even let you enjoy your podcast. For God's sake.
No, but Coach, it was an amazing blessing, man. I'm just so thankful, and I can't believe that it's still crazy to this day that I won it. But I'm just thankful that I had a great teammates around me, that I had coaches who pushed me. I had so many people who poured into me and put me in a position where I had the right mental, physical, emotional, spiritual toughness to be able to go out there and perform to the best of my ability over a long period of time and be able to win that trophy. So
you know what else you had that I loved? My guy Cleves had this. He was tougher than nails. Unbelievable humility. Like no big ego, no big this and that.
Wow.
So I appreciate that about you, Coach Meyer. I appreciate the championships you won at different places. I studied a little bit when you were at Utah, Bowling Green. I remember when you went to Bowling Green, your name was mentioned here. How dumb were we? We didn't. I mean, I don't know if we could have got you, but I think at that time we maybe could have. But it's great. I always love being around people. I say it's like osmosis. If you rub up against somebody who's been really, really good, maybe some of it rubs off. So I'm going to sit between you two on this, do a little rubbing, and figure maybe it'll take me to a Final Four.
Hey, Tom, Coach, real quick. So you brought that up. I was at Bowling Green sitting at my desk. We're undefeated, 16th in the country. And a headhunter called me early on and said, I'm representing Michigan State. And then he called me back and he said, would you be interested? I've always loved Michigan State. And then he called me back and he said, you're out of the search. We want a tier 1 coach. I remember hanging up the phone, and you talk about fired my ass up. I said, I got you. I'm not a tier 1. I mean, it was great motivation. I don't know who the headhunter was, but I should send him a thank you note for saying that, because that pissed me off. I was like, wait a minute, pal.
We needed to give you your chance. The one thing they did do is they gave me a chance. I wasn't a head coach, but I kind of knew the president a little bit then, the politics was in there. So, well, anyway, you've had a lot of success. You've had a lot of success, Mark. And you're going to have a lot of success because you're with these two guys. So everybody should feel good. Now, I got to go back to work. You're all going golfing, and I'm pissed off about it.
We appreciate you, Coach. Go Green.
Safe travels to Atlanta, Coach. Appreciate it. Hey, we'll see you in the fall when Big Noon Kickoff comes to town. Post-game pizza party down in your basement, right? Maybe some adult beverages. We'll invite Raft in for the game. Coach Izzo, congratulations. Thanks for joining us this week on the Triple Option. The legend Tom Izzo. How good is he? How good is he? Thank you again,
the best.
Coach.
Light it.